favorite songs. It's such a wonderful thing when kindred dwell together in unity. When we're dwelling with unity with our kin, it's like all is right with the world. So why is it so hard to do? And how come so few of us manage to live together in unity with our kin? And who are our kin anyway? See, that's the question which I think is the reason why it's so difficult to do it. Because we keep wanting to draw the boundaries of who's our kin smaller and smaller to fit our image of how our life ought to be. We certainly see that with Joseph. He was born into a large family, and the way that he gained favor with his father upset his brothers to the point where they dug a pit and left him there. His oldest brother saved his life by sneaking out and selling him rather than leaving him to die of starvation or be eaten by wild animals. So the circle of kinship got drawn a little smaller. Not a lot of unity. And then there's the story about Jesus, where he's busy teaching people and healing people. And this woman, Canaanite woman, comes and claims healing for her daughter. And he says, I've been sent to the people of Israel, the lost sheep there. And that's my mission. Here's my priorities. It's drawing a circle. So I was in New York last weekend with my granddaughter, Tisha, and we had a wonderful time. And I have about 250 photographs I'm going to show you as part of the sermon. Well, perhaps not. It's a very hectic place with, millions of strangers coming at you moment by moment. So I was pleased to be waiting for the train home after 3 days. It was Penn Station, and if you've ever caught the train back, but there's thousands of people waiting for the train, looking up at the board, which tells you which platform you have to run to find a place on the train. And it only happens about 5 minutes before the train leaves. It's a very hectic place. So I'm standing there trying to keep an eye on my 9-year-old granddaughter, who is very independent, and so she's not into standing very close to her grandparents. And the woman comes and stands right in front of me and says, can you give me $1? I need some money. So I say no, and smile at her. And she says, well, of course you can't. Of course you can't. She walks off. So, I've drawn a circle here. And as I thought about, why did I do that? I was thinking, I feel like a stranger in New York. I feel at risk here. I don't want to be pulling out my wallet in the middle of Penn Station where I'm focusing on 3 other different things. I feel unsafe. I think that there's a clue there to God's invitation to us, and God's invitation to us to learn how to live at unity with our kindred. And that is the movement to feel at home where we are, at home in the universe. Because when we feel as though we are strangers, we feel at risk. We feel life is dangerous, and we need to draw boundaries. Yet the truth is that the only place we are truly at home is in the very heart of the God who creates us and who calls us and who recreates us moment by moment. That's where we're safe, and that's where home is. Home is not created by drawing boundaries. Home is created by journeying inward. And Jesus does that. He is able to journey inward. And so to recognize the woman, and he names her, not as stranger, but as woman, this person in front of me, and so is able to respond to her. And that responding really helps us reframe the Hebrew Scriptures, all of the Old Testament. And the Canaanites were the people of the land into which Israel came when they escaped from Egypt. And they were conquered. And there was enmity between the Canaanites and the Israelites all through the telling of the Old Testament. They were strangers and opponents. And yet Jesus, in telling the story and in taking this action, redraws those boundaries. And that's what Paul is addressing also in this rather difficult reading from Romans. He's saying, it was the reason because the people of Israel didn't listen to God's invitation to be their people, to be my people. That's why Jesus came. And that's why you have the opportunity to be included as the people of God. And it's through your claiming of Jesus that you give a new opportunity to the people of Israel, so that together we are one people. So, our invitation is to let this happen. When we feel at risk, when we feel like strangers, we treat others as strangers. So our strategy is to feel enough at home that we're able to welcome the stranger as though the stranger were kin. And that's how we get to the blessed state of living at peace with one another. With the initial movement, when we feel at risk, isn't to draw boundaries, but it's to go inward, to settle into where we are at home. So you do that. If you look around who's here this morning, you probably know most people and feel at home with them. And that's why you're here. And kind of the core in the middle of summer, coming to worship. And yet, you feel so at home that when people come in from the outside, you include them in the circle. It's not like outsiders are interruptions or cause us anxiety. They're people to be welcomed, to expand the circle. And the more we welcome others, the stronger we become as home. I'm in the midst of helping lead the orientation program for the new young adults, 19 of them, who come to spend a year in Boston. And as they come into this room, they're strangers, they don't know anybody, and there's a lot of anxiety there. Like, who else is here, and will I belong, and what's it going to take to belong, and will people like me, and will I like them, and what's it going to be like? So there's a core team of 8 returning fellows coming there for their second year, and I had spent 2 days with them getting ready for this. And a lot of the getting ready was to get grounded ourselves in caring for one another and building ourselves as a team so that we feel at home. So that as the strangers come in, they come into a space which is home space for the core, into which they can be welcomed. It really works. It's most amazing, strong. When we don't do that, when we draw circles, pretending to keep ourselves safe by keeping the other out. Those who are kept out will tumble in, like the Palestinians do in Israel. Or break in, as people in Ferguson are doing. The way of the world in which we live is more and more to attempt to keep ourselves safe by keeping out those who are different and those whom we fear. And that is a losing strategy. The more we do it, the more violent reaction we cause, until we break apart as a human community. And as we do that, the breaking apart sort of centers in. The more anxious we are with our own families. And we splinter until we are atomized as individuals, trusting no one. So, we're invited to do as Jesus did. To go pray enough. To create a community of disciples that is home enough that when confronted with somebody, we have the possibility of recognizing and responding to them as this person of infinite worth and opening up our boundaries and drawing them in. So that the whole human family become kindred, dwelling together in unity. That's God's dream. And each one of us and all of us together have a part to play in it. And as we do, our hearts become full of amazement and delight at the power of the Spirit to create community between us and beyond us, so that we together become grounded in the heart of God.